Vaccine injury. It's a topic I've covered on the show before. Why? Because there are people out there whose lives have been turned upside down, doing exactly what we're all being encouraged to do: get vaccinated. Their suffering is inconvenient. They say so far nobody responsible for vaccine development or rollout is willing to talk to them or take care of their health problems. The irony is that people who've been injured by the vaccine got the vaccine. They're not anti-vax or anti-science. They did their part, and now they want the government to do its part and help. And while the Supreme Court may be deciding the fate of 2 federally imposed vaccine mandates this week, millions of people are already covered by existing mandates in the military and private companies under state and municipal laws. These are sweeping rules that don't take into account so many important, specific considerations that affect real lives and real livelihoods. Joining us now is one gentleman who has experience with this, pilot Cody Flint. Cody, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Cindy.
Can you start by briefly telling us your story, what your profession is, and what happened to you after you took the vaccine?
Yeah, I'm 34 years old. At the time of vaccine, I was 33. I'm an agricultural pilot. I use an airplane to spray, fertilize, treat crops from the air. My wife and I, on February 1st, volunteered to get the vaccine. Just an exciting day. Thought we were going to put this behind us. Almost immediately, within that 30 minutes, I'd say, I started to develop an odd headache, and right in the very top of my head. Over the next few hours, it moved down the back of my neck, became a more of a burning sensation, which was concerning to say the least. That was on a Monday, February 1st. February 2nd, the next day, I just did office work, taking ibuprofen, Tylenol for the headache. I thought eventually it would go away. The Wednesday, February 3rd, I had my first flying job of the year to do. Got in my airplane, headache still getting worse. I thought to myself, if I can just, get through these few hours of flying, I'll go to my family doctor and see what's going on. Immediately taking off, I realized it was much more than a headache. I had tunnel vision, and which is not good being in an airplane. And the agricultural type of flying I do, it's single seat. I'm by myself. There's no co-pilot. Still, I decided to try to push forward, get through with the job, and keep my commitments to my customers. And I flew for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, tunnel vision getting worse the entire time. Pulled my airplane up to turn around to head back to our airport. And 1 second I went from having burning in the back of my neck and tunnel vision to the very next second I was slumped over my airplane. The best way I know to describe it, it was like a bomb went off inside my head. I'm uncontrollably shaking. Couldn't really control my extremities. I couldn't really tell the position of the airplane. Was I turning? Was I going straight? I actually attempted to land on a 4-lane highway. I just did not think I would be conscious by the time I made it back to our runway. I decided against that just for fear of putting other people in danger. Really, the last thing I remember is seeing our runway from a few miles away. The next thing I know, I'm kind of coming to, and the guys that work on the ground were explaining to me that I just landed and stopped the airplane, and I just had a blank look on my face and was shaking. Just really by the grace of God that there was not an accident. Went to my family doctor. He immediately diagnosed me with vertigo and panic attack. I've never had a history of either of these. Gave me medicine, told me to go home, relax, take the medicine for 2 days. I should be completely better. After those 2 days, I was completely worse. Had to hold on to the walls in my house when walking, couldn't drive, couldn't hardly walk a straight line. And I was able to get scheduled pretty quickly at the Ear and Balance Institute in Covington, Louisiana. They spent 2 days running diagnostic tests on me, MRI, CT scan, balance test, hearing test, spinal tap. And what they found was my intracranial pressure was about 3 times higher than normal, and the MRI scan showed I had 2 paralymphatic fistulas, which essentially are lesions on the inner wall of your inner ear. So your inner ear gives you all of your balance. It has the fluid that floats in it. my inner ears were ruptured and were leaking that fluid inward towards the inside of my skull. My doctors explained for that to happen to both of my inner ears at the same time on the same day, generally that comes from just highly elevated intracranial pressure from things like a car wreck, major head trauma, things of that nature. Obviously, I had none of those. The only thing that changed in my life was I got the vaccine and developed a severe headache immediately that got worse leading up to that point. After that, I had 2 surgeries, one in end of March, one in June, trying to repair the fistulas. Had 6 spinal taps in between to monitor intracranial pressure and dozens of doctor visits.
That's absolutely terrifying. And how are you now? So the last surgery was in June. Has anything improved?
You know, I'd say I kind of have plateaued at this point. I'm better than I was before the surgeries. I still have trouble driving. Absolutely no shape to be flying an airplane. The medicine, on top of that, the medicine I take is not FAA approved for pilots to take while flying. You take my pilot's license away from me, I didn't go to college, so I really have nothing to fall back on. No, I don't know what my next stepping stone in life is going to be. I don't know what to do at this point. I've spent every dime I've saved my entire life on the surgeries and just trying to survive and feed my family.
The federal government has issued a series of mandates for people to get vaccination. The Supreme Court is now looking at those mandates. But there are particular considerations for certain professions, and being a pilot is one of them that I think it's safe to say they probably didn't study. What are some of those considerations specifically for pilots?
Well, pilots are, one study from 2014 shows pilots are 50% more likely to experience blood clots than the general population. Well, it is now being reported that these mRNA-type vaccines, increase risk of blood clots. Pilots sit in one position for hours on end, altitude changes. Generally, we're not allowed to take anticoagulant drugs that can help prevent the blood clots. So it's a perfect storm in the making. I'm scared to death that it's going to take a horrible accident, maybe of a commercial airliner, to wake people up in the FAA and FDA to show, this mandate. That's one of the that's the Achilles heel of the mandate. This does not fit everyone. It's not a one size fits all solution. This shot, there are thousands and thousands of people around the country. I've been in touch with a lot of them that have had absolutely life-altering, career-ending injuries from these vaccines. A lot of them are pilots. It is scary at how many pilots are being injured by this. And what's even worse to think about is a lot of pilots are scared to come forward because of their job. To keep their job, they have to have a current FAA medical. If they're scared, if they come forward, which I totally understand this, they come forward, they may be flagged by the FAA, they may get a call saying, you need to come in, we saw what you said, we heard what you said, have their medical taken, there goes their livelihood. So they're being put in an impossible situation.
So we're generally led to believe that these vaccine injuries, although they can be severe, are pretty rare and nothing to worry about in a widespread way. Having said that, it doesn't sound like, from talking to you and others, that there's a lot of rigorous data collection among the vaccine injured. Do you have any sense at all of how widespread these problems are?
Well, I can give you some numbers directly came from Pfizer. I'm part of an organization, react19.org. People can go there and look at some of the research we've done. You can also donate to help fund some of that research. But a lot of people don't know FDA was court-ordered through a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, about a month ago. They were court-ordered to release the 350,000 documents that Pfizer submitted to them. They were given 55 years.
Be sure to watch the entire episode, now available exclusively at epochtv.com, a new completely censorship-free premium subscription platform. Brought to you by the Epoch Times. See you there.